to the video, How to Protect Your Winter Vegetables from Freezes. I am Rebecca, and in this video, I will discuss when to provide freeze protection for your winter vegetables, what options and materials can be used for protection, and the steps to take to provide freeze protection for in-ground and potted winter vegetables. A freeze happens when temperatures drop to 32 degrees Fahrenheit or lower for a couple of hours or more. Our first freeze usually happens between Halloween and the first week of November. This is the freeze that kills summer vegetables and flowers. It is not usually cold enough to harm our more cold-hardy winter greens that we planted in the fall. All of the frosty winter greens that you just saw survived a 26 degrees freeze that killed summer vegetables and flowers. But they looked fabulous only 2 hours later. Here are the freeze-killed temperatures for different winter vegetables. All of the winter vegetables in this table are more cold-hardy and grow well during our Texas winters, but there are usually a few days in January and February when you will need to provide extra protection against a freeze. When temperatures are expected to be at or below the temperature listed next to the name of the vegetable, then that vegetable should be covered for protection. For example, if the low temperature is expected to fall to 25 degrees or lower, I should provide freeze protection for my lettuce. There are many factors such as soil moisture level, depth of mulch, plant variety, etc. that can have an impact on the lowest temperature a vegetable can withstand before it succumbs to freezing temperatures. Also cover your vegetable plants if ice or snow are in the forecast. Here are some cover materials and protection options that you can use to provide freeze protection for your plants. A greenhouse, hoop house, or cold frame. If you're lucky enough to have a greenhouse, hoop house, or cold frame, of course you can just close the door to protect your plants. While these three options are nice to have, they are not needed by the home gardener since our Texas winters are usually mild. I built this cold frame years ago, and most of the winter is so mild that I don't even need to close the door. There are many more affordable and simple materials that can provide freeze protection, including cloches, row cover fabric, and blankets, towels, and bed sheets. Cloches are bell-shaped glass or plastic coverings for individual plants. Affordable cloches can be created from plastic water and juice bottles. Just cut the bottoms off the bottle. I don't usually use cloches to protect winter vegetables, but do use them to provide protection and an early start for young spring seedlings in the garden. Since cloches are like mini greenhouses, the temperatures can get very warm inside when the sun is shining. So I don't put a lid on them unless snow, ice, or temperatures below 20 degrees are expected. Row cover fabric is another option. Row cover fabric comes in various thicknesses and is used to cover the row of plants or is placed over a series of small inline metal or plastic hoops to create a tunnel shape over plants. Row cover fabric and fabric tunnels are usually left on the plants for some time or moved to the side as temperatures warm. Blankets, towels, and bed sheets are another option. Frost blankets and ordinary blankets provide more protection than thin bed sheets. The option I use the most is an ordinary blanket. A thick blanket will provide a good level of protection and is very affordable. If you don't have an old blanket, one can be purchased for just a couple of dollars or so at a reuse store. The best blankets are thick with a cotton or cotton polyester cover with batting inside, like a comforter or quilt. Fuzzy blankets will keep plants warm, but their surface will entangle small sticks and leaves and will be hard to keep clean. How to protect your winter vegetables from killing freezes. First, watch the weather forecast. Keep your eye on the weather forecast. The weather channel, weather.com, is a good one to use. Note any days when the low temperature will be at or below the low temperature for your crops. The usual pattern of cold temperatures is this. Temperatures begin to decline when the sun goes down in the evening and continue to drop throughout the night, reaching the lowest temperature in the early morning hours of the next day just before sunrise. So if you know the temperature will reach the killing freeze temperature for one or more of your crops, then these are the steps you need to take and protect them. Step 1, water your vegetables. Water your vegetables during the warmest hours of the day before the low temperature is expected. This will usually be between 1 and 3 p.m. Ideally, the temperature should be 40 degrees or above when you water. Plants that are watered and have adequate moisture in their cells have a much better tolerance for cold temperatures compared to plants in dry soil. Cold temperatures plus dry soil can be a death sentence for your vegetables. Step 2, cover your plants for extra warmth. After watering well, cover your plants with a blanket, towel, sheet, row cover fabric, or cloches. Place rocks or bricks on the corners of the fabric, or use bulldog clips and even clothespins to keep gusts of cold wind out. If using a cloche and ice and snow are expected, add the lid. Step 3, uncover your vegetables once the temperatures have warmed to 33 degrees and above. Usually this is by noon the next day. If you've used a blanket, towel, or sheet, be sure to let it dry well before folding and storing. If they are heavy with water or slushy snow, put them on a driveway or sidewalk in the sun until they are drier. Then they can be lifted onto a fence or clothesline to dry completely. If you used row cover, you could leave it on, move it to the side, or remove and store it. If you used a cloche, remove and store it, or just remove the lid so the plant does not get too hot. Winter greens left in cloches for too long in Texas will usually get too warm on regular winter days and go to seed and become inedible. You can protect your winter potted plants the same way as you protected your vegetables. But potted plants have an added bonus because you can move them into a greenhouse, garage, and make things easier. Or, of course, you can cover them with blankets, towels, commercial frost blankets, or even frost bags with drawstrings if you would like to purchase those. I find it useful to move all of my outside winter potted plants together on the porch or near a wall of the house so that I can then cover many plants with one blanket. And then I can tuck the edges of the blanket under the pots so that they're weighted down and the wind will not get in under the blanket or be blown away. Extreme cold weather protection. It has been rare, but sometimes we do have extreme cold weather in Texas, as experienced in February 2021, the period nicknamed by Texans as the Texas Snow Apocalypse. At this time, we received 6 to 8 inches of snow and had below freezing temperatures that ranged from 16 degrees to 5 degrees and even 0 degrees for 7 days in a row. In weather like this, thin fabric such as row cover and sheets are probably not going to provide the protection your crops need to survive. So here's what I did to save my winter vegetables during the Texas snow apocalypse. First, I watered all of my vegetable beds well during the warmest hours of the day before the first freezing temperatures and snow were expected. I think that was around 1 p.m. I then covered each bed with doubled blankets, not just a single layer, but I doubled my blankets. And then I secured all the edges on my raised beds with bulldog clips, clothespins, nails, and I added rocks on the edges of the blankets that touch the ground. I then pinned a smaller loose sheet of black plastic over the top of each blanket to provide some extra passive solar heating. On the 7th day of snow cover, I took a look under the blanket to reveal thriving greens underneath. By the time temperatures rose above freezing and the snow had melted, it had been 9 days total since my plants were first watered and covered. All of my winter vegetables had survived. Thanks for watching. Happy winter vegetable gardening to you.